The 22nd of June, 1941. A Soviet spy sends a message. They attack today. Stalin reads it and calls it a British lie. Hours later, 3.5 million Nazis storm the border, and the Red Army is shattered. This is that story. May 15th, 1941. The German Embassy, Tokyo. The air inside is suffocating. It's not just the damp, oppressive Tokyo heat. It's the thick, blue-grey fog of cigar smoke, the aroma of spilled schnapps, and the palpable tension of men who believe they are deciding the fate of the world. And at the center of it all, a man is laughing, a loud, confident, slightly drunken laugh. This is Richard Sorge. To everyone in this room, he is the model German patriot, a brilliant, charismatic journalist for the Frankfurter Zeitung, a loyal member of the Nazi Party. He is charming, handsome, and reckless, a man who loves fast motorcycles, strong liquor, and the wives of his colleagues. He is also the personal friend, drinking buddy, and chief confidant of the German ambassador himself, General Eugen Ott. But Richard Sorge, codenamed Ramsay, is a lie. He is not a Nazi. He is a dedicated, iron-willed communist. He is not a journalist. He is a master agent for Soviet military intelligence, the GRU. And he has built the single most effective spy ring of the Second World War right inside the heart of the Axis alliance. Tonight, Sorge is working. His glass is full, his smile is wide, and his eyes are sharp. He leans in, listening to a high-ranking German military attaché complaining about the frustrating, stalled negotiations with the Japanese. The Japanese just don't understand. The attaché slurs. Why should we care about their southern strategy in Singapore? All resources, all of them, must soon be directed to the real target. Sorge nods, refilling the man's glass. The English, of course. Always the English. The attaché waves a dismissive hand. No, that can wait. The Führer is tired of waiting. He is going to lance the boil. The real problem, the Bolsheviks. Sorge's blood runs cold, but his expression doesn't flicker. He laughs. But the pact, my friend, our glorious Molotov-Ribbentrop pact, Hitler and Stalin are brothers in arms. No? The attaché leans in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. The pact is a piece of paper. The reality is 170 divisions moving east. They are in position. You are a trusted party man, Sorge, I can tell you. This isn't a threat. It is a timetable. Later that night, Sorge meets with Ambassador Ott himself. Ott, who trusts Sorge implicitly, is more direct. He confirms the plan. The code name is Operation Barbarossa. The scale is total. The entire European political map is about to be redrawn. Sorge finally leaves the embassy, the smoke and alcohol clinging to him like a shroud. He gets on his motorcycle and speeds through the dark, quiet streets of Tokyo, the German swastika pennant on his bike fluttering in the night air, granting him diplomatic immunity from any curious Kempeitai patrols. He arrives at his safe house. The charming drunk vanishes. The mask is off. In his place is the cold, methodical intelligence officer. He sits with his radio operator, Max Clausen. Sorge carefully drafts the message, encrypting it himself. He has cultivated these sources for 8 long years. He has sacrificed everything, his marriage, his health, his identity for this one moment. He has the code name. He has the troop concentrations. He has the strategic objectives. And then, from a separate, highly placed source inside the German High Command, he gets the final, terrifying piece of the puzzle, the exact date. The radio key begins to click, sending short, high-frequency bursts across 8,000 kilometers of frozen tundra and silent forests. The signal streaks across Siberia, destined for a single antenna in Moscow, for the central office of the GRU. The message is clear. It is unambiguous. It is the single greatest intelligence coup of the war. From Ramsay to Moscow Center. German Ambassador Ott informs me, Hitler has decided to attack USSR to eliminate European rival. Concentration of 170 to 190 divisions, massing on western border. Expect total war. Date of attack will be June 22. Sorge sends the message. He has done his job. He has handed Joseph Stalin the precise blueprint for the Wehrmacht's invasion. Now, all the master in the Kremlin has to do is read it. The Kremlin, Moscow, late May 1941. The signal from Ramsay does not go directly to Joseph Stalin. It first travels to the 4th Department of the Red Army GRU. It is decoded, translated, and typed onto a stark, official report. It is a death sentence for the man who has to deliver it. General Philip Golikov, the head of the GRU, holds the flimsy piece of paper in his hand. His uniform feels too tight. He is a man perpetually frozen in fear, and for good reason. His predecessor was shot. The predecessor before that was also shot. In Stalin's Russia, intelligence chiefs do not retire. Golikov knows what the Vojteva boss wants to hear. He wants to hear that the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is strong. He wants to hear that Hitler is logical. He wants to hear that the capitalists in London are desperate. This report from Sorge says the exact opposite. But Sorge isn't the only one. The warnings are now a flood. From the Red Orchestra spiring in Berlin. From Starshina, an agent deep inside the German Air Ministry. From Czech intelligence. From border guards reporting massive, undisguised German troop movements. Even from a single German communist soldier who swims the Bug River under a hail of bullets just to deliver the warning in person. Tomorrow. It starts tomorrow. All these reports are compiled. All of them point to the same, impossible, catastrophic conclusion. Golikov finally stands before the desk of Lavrenti Beria, the monstrous chief of the NKVD. Beria, with his signature pince-nez and chillingly soft voice, is the gatekeeper. Beria reads Sorge's report. He sees the name Ramsay, and his lip curls. He trusts no one, least of all a GRU agent, living a decadent bourgeois life in Tokyo. This Sorge, Beria mutters. He's settled down in Tokyo, opened a small factory, bought a couple of houses. He's probably working for the English, or the Germans. This is the key, the one word that unlocks Joseph Stalin's entire worldview. Provocation. Stalin, the man of steel, is a prisoner inside his own mind. He is not a statesman. He is a conspirator. He sees the world as a dark room full of enemies, and the only light is his own genius. In his mind, the great enemy is not Hitler. Hitler is a gangster, like him. They have a deal. A gangster understands a deal. The true enemy is Great Britain. Stalin is convinced that Winston Churchill, desperate and alone, is orchestrating the most complex disinformation campaign in history. The goal? To trick Stalin into a premature war with Hitler, saving Britain and destroying the Soviet Union. Every warning, every piece of intelligence that contradicts this theory is not seen as truth. It is seen as proof of the cleverness of the British plot. The two intelligence chiefs, Golikov and Beria, finally present their findings in Stalin's cavernous office. The air is heavy with the sweet, sickening smell of Stalin's Herzegovina floor pipe tobacco. Stalin is hunched over his desk, marking up documents with a red pencil. He doesn't look up. Golikov clears his throat, his voice trembling. Comrade Stalin, we have new reports. From Berlin. And from Ramsay in Tokyo. They insist the attack is imminent. They give a date. June 22nd. The red pencil stops. There is a long, terrible silence. Stalin slowly lifts his head. His yellow, wolf-like eyes fix on Golikov. A date? Stalin says, his voice quiet, which is always more dangerous than his rage. He takes the report. He reads Sorge's name. He scoffs. Ramsay? He spits. This, Ramsay, is a little shit. A Japanese factory owner getting rich. You want me to believe him? A man who runs whorehouses and drinks with the German ambassador? He snatches the other reports. He sees the consensus. 170 divisions, 190 divisions, air fleets moving to Polish airfields. He erupts. Provocation. He roars, slamming his fist on the desk. This is not intelligence. This is a plant from the British. He turns on Golikov. You, head of intelligence, you believe this? You believe Hitler is such an idiot that he would attack us? That he would open a second front when England is still on its feet? He is not that stupid. Stalin's paranoia is now impossibly blind. He is so certain of his own analysis of Hitler's logic that he is deaf to the sound of 3.5 million men starting their tank engines. He grabs his red pencil and scrawls across Sorge's meticulously sourced, life-threatening report. He writes, "This is German disinformation. Check the source. J. Street." To Beria, he is even more direct. He gestures to the file on Sorge. Find out who is running this provocator. The case is closed. The warnings are filed away, stamped with the red ink of Stalin's denial. And across the border, in the forests of Poland, the most powerful invasion force ever assembled is given the final code word. The order is sent down the Red Army chain of command, straight from Stalin. Do not reply to any provocations. Do not move troops. Anyone spreading panic will be shot as a German agent. The border guards are left with their rifles. The Air Force pilots are forbidden from dispersing their planes. The tank crews are asleep in their barracks. The entire Soviet Western Front has been psychologically and literally disarmed by its own leader. June 22nd, 1941, 3:15 a.m. The Soviet Western border. The night is unnaturally quiet. Too quiet. For weeks, Soviet border patrols have listened to the noise from the other side. The endless clank of tank treads, the shouts of German commands, the roar of engines being tested. But tonight, that noise has stopped. A young private, Vasily Kulakov, strains his ears. He hears something new. A faint, metallic squeal. A low, collective rumble, like distant thunder, but coming from the ground itself. He turns to his sergeant. "Comrade Sergeant, I hear something. Armor. A lot of it." The sergeant, a veteran of the Winter War, spits into the grass. "It's the Germans, trying to scare us, trying to provoke us. Orders from front command are clear. You see them, you do nothing. You hear them, you do nothing. You are shot at, you report, and you do nothing. It is a provocation. Go back to your post." Vasily nods, but his hands are cold on his Mosin Nagant rifle. His gut tells him this is not a test. At exactly 3:30 a.m., the world ends. The sound is not a gunshot. It is not an artillery battery. It is the simultaneous, unified explosion of 19,000 German artillery pieces, mortars, and Nebelwerfer rockets firing as one. From the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, a 1,500-kilometer front erupts in a wall of fire. The ground doesn't shake, it liquidates. Vasily Kulakov is vaporized before he even hears the shell that kills him. The sergeant's provocation becomes a mile-wide sheet of white-hot steel. Across the river, German officers check their watches. Phase line. Dora reached. One notes calmly. Commence crossing. In the Brest fortress, sleeping Soviet soldiers are blown out of their bunks, many killed instantly by shells collapsing the barracks ceilings. They stumble into the courtyards, dazed, half-naked, clutching their rifles. A political commissar, his face pale in the light of the fires, screams over the din. "Comrades, do not panic. This is a provocation. A German test. Hold your positions. Do not return fire without orders from Moscow." But this is not a provocation. This is Operation Barbarossa. At 3:45 a.m., the Luftwaffe arrives. Thousands of Messerschmitts, Stukas, and Heinkels blot out the pre-dawn sky. They fly low, fast, and completely unopposed. They find what German reconnaissance had promised them, the Soviet Air Force, neatly arranged in perfect rows on their airfields. Per Stalin's explicit orders to prevent a single pilot from defecting or provoking, the planes are parked wingtip to wingtip. They are not dispersed. They are not camouflaged. They are a target. It is not a battle. It is an execution. German pilots don't even bother with dogfighting. They make low, lazy, strafing runs, turning 1,200 Soviet aircraft into burning aluminum skeletons before 6 a.m. In a single morning, the Red Air Force on the Western Front ceases to exist. At the same time, German Brandenburger commandos, disguised in Soviet uniforms, have seized the key bridges over the Bug River. They cut telephone and telegraph wires, isolating the front lines from their command. And then, the panzers come. The steel fist of Army Group Center, 3,500 tanks, rumbles across the intact bridges. They don't slow down. They don't stop to fight the pockets of border guards. They are instructed to drive east, as fast as possible. Their goal is Minsk, then Smolensk, then Moscow. In a command bunker near Bialystok, General Dmitry Pavlov, commander of the Western Front, is holding a dead telephone. He is white-knuckled, his face frozen in disbelief. He had been promised by Stalin himself that there would be no war. He finally gets a teletype connection to Moscow. His message is frantic. We are under heavy fire. Germans advancing. Cities are burning. I request orders. The response from the Moscow General Staff, the Stavka, is chilling. The generals there are too terrified to act. The switchboard operators at the Kremlin are under their own orders. Do not wake Comrade Stalin. Do not spread panic. The greatest invasion force in human history is shattering the Red Army, and the Red Army is still waiting for permission to fight back. The Kremlin, Moscow, 4:30 a.m. Sunlight begins to stream into the ornate offices, mocking the dark panic of the men inside. The Kremlin is a tomb of terrified silence. A small group of the highest-ranking men in the Soviet Union are gathered. Semyon Timoshenko, the defense commissar, Georgy Zhukov, the hardened chief of the General Staff, and Vyacheslav Molotov, the architect of the unbreakable pact. And they are all staring at a telephone. They have the reports. They have the flames. They have the screams from the front line. But they do not have permission to fight a war. No one has dared to call Joseph Stalin, to wake the Vozhd with the news that his entire geopolitical strategy, his genius, has just been proven catastrophically wrong, is a death sentence. Finally, Zhukov, a man who possesses a rare sliver of pure, unadulterated nerve, takes the receiver. He dials Stalin's private dacha at Kuntsevo. A sleepy duty officer answers. This is General Zhukov. I must speak with Comrade Stalin, immediately. Comrade Stalin is sleeping, the officer replies, his voice laced with terror. Wake him up, Zhukov barks. Tell him the Germans are bombing our cities. It's war. There is a click, a long, agonizing pause. Then, a thick, gravelly voice, heavy with sleep and irritation. What is it? Zhukov's throat is dry. Comrade Stalin, the German army has attacked our borders. They are bombing Kiev, Minsk, Sevastopol. Silence. A long, terrifying silence on the other end of the line. Stalin is processing. He is not processing the attack. He is processing the provocation. Are they German planes? Stalin asks, his voice dangerously quiet. Or just, of course. Comrade Zhukov, Timoshenko cuts in. This is not a mistake. This is war. Another pause. Then, the line goes dead. Stalin is on his way. He arrives at the Kremlin just after 5 a.m. He is pale. He is not wearing his uniform, but a simple civilian suit. He looks, for the first time in his life, small. He walks into the Politburo office. His eyes are not filled with rage. They are filled with a deep, bottomless, and disoriented dread. He is a conspirator who has just been blindsided. He still cannot accept it. This is a provocation, he mutters, pacing the room. Surely Hitler does not know. This must be the act of his generals, a rogue action. We must contact Berlin. Molotov, the foreign minister, looks down. Comrade Stalin, we have already tried. Berlin will not answer our calls. This is a test, Stalin insists, his voice rising, desperate to regain his footing. They are testing us. If we show weakness, they will advance. If we fire back too hard, we will fall for Churchill's trap and give Hitler the excuse he needs to invade. He is a man trapped in his own broken logic, while his country burns. It is Zhukov who breaks the spell. He unrolls a map on the main table. It is already covered in red arrows, German arrows plunging deep into Soviet territory. Comrade Stalin, Zhukov says, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. It is not a provocation. It is a full-scale offensive. The Western Front is collapsing. The Air Force is destroyed on the ground. We have lost contact with General Pavlov. We are at war, and we are losing. Stalin stares at the map. He looks at the red arrows pointing at Minsk, at Kiev, pointing at Moscow. The date June 22nd. The date from Sorge. The date from the Red Orchestra. The date he had dismissed with a scrawl of red pencil. The man of steel shatters. The realization that his paranoia was pointed in the wrong direction, that Hitler had fooled him, that he, Stalin, had been the idiotist too much. This is not a military failure. It is a personal one. He, the genius leader, has led his people into the greatest disaster in Russian history. He does not give a single order. He does not declare martial law. He does not address the people. He turns. He walks to the door. He looks back at his stunned, terrified command staff. His face is ashen. "Lenin," he whispers, his voice hollow. "Lenin left us a great proletarian state, and we have fucked it up." He walks out of the Kremlin. He gets in his car, and he drives back to his dacha. For the next 10 days, as Army Group Center annihilates the Red Army and drives 300 miles toward Moscow, Joseph Stalin vanishes. He locks himself in his study. He takes no calls. He issues no commands. The Soviet Union, facing total extermination, is utterly and completely leaderless. The throne is empty. This is what a shattered army looks like. For 10 days, the Wehrmacht has advanced almost without limit. The Soviet Western Front, under the command of the hapless General Pavlov, has simply disintegrated. It hasn't been defeated, it has been swallowed. A young Soviet tank commander, Lieutenant Ivan Moskalenko, lies in a ditch. His T-26, tanker flimsy, gasoline-powered machines, a burning wreck 50 meters away. His crew is dead, he has no orders, he has no fuel, he has no ammunition. His radio, for the last 3 days, has broadcast nothing but static and, occasionally, coded German transmissions. Above him, the sky is black with Stukas. The sound of their Jericho's trumpet sirens is not a sound of attack anymore. It is the sound of a mocking, omnipresent God. He is not a soldier. He is a survivor. He is one of 400,000 men now trapped in the Bialystok-Minsk pocket. It is the largest, most catastrophic encirclement in modern military history. Army Group Center's 2 great panzer arms have slammed shut behind them, and the Luftwaffe is now methodically liquidating the pocket from the air. The soldiers are terrified, but more than that, they are confused. Where is the Red Air Force? Where are the reserves? Where is Stalin? They do not know that their leader is locked in his dacha, paralyzed by a complete nervous breakdown. They do not know that the provocation theory is still the unofficial order of the day. They only know they have been abandoned. Back in Moscow, the silence from the dacha has become unbearable. The Politburo is in a state of primal terror. Not just of the Germans, but of their own vanished leader. Finally, a small delegation, including Molotov and Beria, makes the drive to Kuntsevo. They find Stalin in a darkened room, hollow-eyed, chain-smoking, a ghost in his own house. They are terrified he will have them shot for disturbing him or for spreading panic. Instead, they find a broken man. It is Molotov who speaks, his voice trembling. "Joseph Vissarionovich, we need you. The people, the army, they must hear your voice. You must lead." Stalin looks up. He sees his inner circle, not as accusers, but as supplicants. And in that moment, the paralysis breaks. The conspirator re-emerges, colder and harder than before. If the world had betrayed him, he would master it through pure, unadulterated terror. He returns to the Kremlin. The empty throne is filled. His first order is not military. It is retribution. He needs a scapegoat for his own failure. He finds one in General Dmitry Pavlov, the commander of the Western Front. Pavlov and his senior staff are recalled to Moscow, arrested by the NKVD, put on trial for criminal incompetence and failure to perform their duties. Pavlov is bewildered. "But my orders were not to be provoked." It doesn't matter. The verdict is predetermined. Stalin, the man who had tied Pavlov's hands, signs his death warrant. Pavlov is executed by a bullet to the back of the head. Now, Stalin turns to the other loose end, the other man who had been right. Tokyo, October 1941. Richard Sorge has not stopped working. He has just sent another message of world-shattering importance to Moscow. His sources inside the Japanese cabinet have confirmed it. Japan will not attack the Soviet Union in Siberia. Their target is south, Malaya, the Dutch East Indies, and the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. This message is the key to Moscow's survival. It means Stalin can transfer his elite, battle-hardened Siberian divisions from the east to defend the capital. But Sorge is now a marked man. The Japanese counterintelligence, the Kempeitai, have been patiently triangulating his radio signals. They are closing in. Sorge sends a desperate, final plea to Moscow. Request immediate extraction. My ring is in mortal danger. In the Kremlin, Stalin reads the new Ramsay intercept. He sees the Pearl Harbor warning. He is not grateful. He is furious. This man, Sorge, has become the living embodiment of Stalin's humiliation. He was right about June 22nd. He is probably right about Japan. His genius rivals Stalin's own. And in Stalin's world, there is only room for one. Stalin, impossibly blind, convinces himself that Sorge's new, true report is the real disinformation. That Hitler and the Japanese are luring him into moving his Siberian army so Japan can invade an empty border. He scrawls his final order on the Ramsay file. Disavow. This man is a provocator. In Tokyo, Richard Sorge waits for a rescue that will never come. The Moscow radio channel goes silent. The GRU has cut him loose. On the 18th of October 1941, the Kempeitai kick in his door. Richard Sorge, the man who gave Stalin the date of the invasion, the man who just gave him the key to saving Moscow, is arrested. He is alone, betrayed not by his enemies, but by the very master he served. The German Osthier is dying. A lancer of the 2nd Panzer Division, Private Erich Hauser, huddles behind a frozen horse. He has no winter coat. His thin, field-grey wool uniform is stiff with ice. He has wrapped his feet in paper, but he hasn't been able to feel his toes for a week. He is suffering from 40 degrees of frostbite. His rifle's bolt is frozen solid. The lubricating oil in his MG-42 machine gun has turned to glue. The diesel in the Panzers has gelled, their engines silent. But he can see them. Through the swirling snow, he can just make out the dark, onion-domed spires of the Kremlin. They are so close. They have marched 3,000 kilometers, bled for every mile, and the prize is right there. This is Operation Typhoon, the final, desperate lunge for Moscow. Back in the city, the government has evacuated. The embassies are gone. The factories are being dismantled. The city is a hollowed-out shell, gripped by panic, and ruled by the NKVD's execution squads. But one man has remained. In his Kremlin office, Joseph Stalin is a prisoner of his own map. The red arrows he once despised are now German pincers, closing just north and south of his capital. His generals, led by the indomitable Georgy Zhukov, are blunt. "We have nothing left," Zhukov states, his voice raw from lack of sleep. "The last of the workers' militias are in the line. They are brave. But they are fighting panzers with rifles. We have no more reserves. Unless..." Zhukov's finger taps the far eastern edge of the map. Siberia. Here, 40 elite, battle-hardened, fully equipped Siberian divisions stand guard, waiting for the Japanese Quela army to invade. "We must have them, Comrade Stalin," Zhukov insists. "If we do not, Moscow falls within the week." Stalin is silent, his pipe smoke coiling in the frigid air of the office. He is staring at the ultimate, agonizing irony. To save Moscow, he must trust the one man he has personally condemned. He must gamble the entire existence of the Soviet state on the final report from Ramsay, the little shit, the provocateur, the agent he has just disavowed and left to rot in a Japanese prison. He must believe Sorge's report that Japan is striking south, at the Americans. Stalin, the conspirator, weighs the options. His own paranoia versus total annihilation. If he trusts Sorge and is wrong, the Japanese walk into an empty Siberia, cut the Trans-Siberian Railway, and the war is over. If he doesn't trust Sorge, the Germans walk into an empty Kremlin, and the war is over. His genius has led him to a dead end. He is forced to rely on the simple, agonizing truth. He picks up the phone. He speaks to the commander of the Far East Front. "Begin the transfer," he growls. "All of them. Immediately." The order is given. Across 5,000 miles of a single, fragile rail line, the greatest strategic transfer of the war begins. On December 5th, 1941, Private Erich Hauser is still in his ditch. The world is a vortex of white. He hears a new sound, not the whine of Stukas or the clatter of his own panzers. It is a low, deep, alien rumble. He peers into the blizzard. The snow itself seems to be solidifying. What emerges from the storm is not an army, it is an avalanche. 100,000 fresh soldiers, men born and raised in the Siberian winter. They are dressed in white-padded Telegraika jackets, thick Valenki boots, and white camouflage cloaks. They are not freezing. They are not exhausted. They are angry. And with them come the T-34 tanks, their wide tracks gripping the ice, their diesel engines winterized roaring to life. This is the Siberian Reserve. This is Richard Sorge's final posthumous victory. The counter-offensive hits the German line like a wrecking ball. The Germans, frozen, exhausted, and completely surprised, do not bend. They shatter. For the first time in the Second World War, the Wehrmacht is not attacking, it is not regrouping, it is running for its life. The road to Moscow is littered with abandoned tanks, frozen artillery, and the bodies of men in summer uniforms. The invincible German army has been dealt a mortal blow. Moscow is saved. And it was saved by the ghost in the Tokyo prison, Sugamo Prison, Tokyo, a cold, sterile cell. November 7th, 1944. Richard Sorge sits in his cell. He is skeletal. 3 years of brutal interrogation by the Kempeitai have ravaged his body. He has been starved, beaten, and subjected to psychological torture. But he never broke. He admitted to his espionage, but only after it was clear his ring was hopelessly compromised. He has spent the last 3 years in this concrete box, waiting. He knows the tide of the war has turned. He knows his Siberian intelligence was correct. He knows the Red Army is now grinding the Wehrmacht into dust on the road to Berlin. He still believes in the mission. He still believes in the Soviet Union. He has been told nothing by his Japanese captors. He knows nothing of his family. And he has received not one word from Moscow. No support, no disavowal, no trade, just silence. To Joseph Stalin, Richard Sorge is more dangerous alive than he ever was. He is a loose end. He is the man who knew. He is the living proof of Stalin's catastrophic, world-ending failure of June 22nd. In Stalin's new narrative, The Great Patriotic War, there was no failure. There was no panic. There was no nervous breakdown. There was only a wise leader who had drawn the Germans into a brilliant trap, and a dead spy tells no tales. On this day, November 7, the 27th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution, the very holiday Sorge believed he was fighting for, a Japanese guard opens his cell door. It is time. Richard Sorge is walked to a simple wooden gallows. He is calm. He is dignified. The mask of the drunken, womanizing Nazi journalist is long gone. So is the cold, methodical GRU agent. All that is left is the true believer. A Japanese official asks him if he has any last words. Sorge stands tall. He looks not at his executioners, but at the wall, as if he is looking 8,000 kilometers west to the red square he has never seen. He speaks, not in German, not in Japanese, but in clear, perfect Russian. The Red Army, long live the Soviet Union. The trapdoor opens. The signal goes silent. Red Square, Moscow, June 24th, 1945. The Grand Victory Parade. Rain pours down on a triumphant, adoring crowd. Joseph Stalin stands on top of Lenin's mausoleum, a fortress of red granite. He is now Generalissimus Stalin. He is the savior of his people, the victor of the greatest war in history, the most powerful man on earth. At his feet, Red Army soldiers, the men from Stalingrad and Berlin, throw the captured banners of Hitler's Reich onto the wet cobblestones. It is the ultimate symbol of his triumph. His paranoia has been vindicated. His refusal to listen, his execution of generals, his betrayal of his agentsit has all been washed away by victory. He has erased 1,941. He has erased General Pavlov. He has erased Richard Sorge. For decades, Sorge's name would not be spoken in the Soviet Union. He was a non-person. His warnings, which could have saved millions, remained buried in a file, stamped with Stalin's dismissive red ink. Provocation. It wasn't until 1964, long after Stalin was dead, that the Kremlin, for its own political reasons, rehabilitated him. They named a street after him. They made him a hero of the Soviet Union. They turned the man who exposed Stalin's deadliest flaw into just another statue in Stalin's park. The story of June 22nd is not just the story of an invasion. It is a story of two men. One, a spy, who sacrificed everything for the truth. The other, a dictator, who was so afraid of a provocation, he was impossibly blind to the reality. He was willing to believe any lie, so long as it confirmed his own genius, and he dismissed any truth, no matter how vital, that suggested he might be a fool. In the end, Stalin read the message and chose to let his country burn, rather than admit he was wrong.